Hello world, welcome back to the Razor RC, and we're doing the full review on the Radiolink RC8X. This is a brand new radio from Radiolink, basically a Surface or even FPV style transmitter. Super nice. Radiolink has been known for making more like budget or entry level radios in the past, but this is kind of their first full-on mid-range radio. Sells for about $280 to $300 depending on when you pick it up. I will have links in the description below where you can buy one of these. And the main competitors are obviously going to be things like the FlySky Noble NB4, the Spectrum DX5 Pro, the Sanwa MT44 or MT5, and then finally Futaba 4PM. I do have reviews on all those other radios as well if you want to check those out. But yeah, super excited to take a look at this. So 8 channels, about $280, $300 like I mentioned. Really nice, quite impressive. A huge step up from their budget radios in the past, like the RC6GS, something like that. I've had those radios in the past, but this is kind of like their full-on high-end radio. So as you can see, super nice 4.3-inch full color display, shows you all the channels and basically what the current settings are. So obviously as you move the triggers, adjust dials and stuff, you can see those moving. Does have a timer, does have a bunch of like mixing and telemetry and ABS and all kinds of options. Timer there, there's a telemetry on the receiver, and then all the positions and settings for all your programmable switches. So everything is programmable. Radio's actually got a reversible steering wheel, so you can actually bolt this onto the side. It does have lots of additional plugs, DSC to hook this up to computer, use it as like a simulator type control. It is cross-link compatible as well. It does have a USB port here, headphone jack, tons of switches, one here on the side, one here on the thumb, again doubled up on the other side, one here on the bottom. 4 switches up top, typically used for trim, and then additional switch here on the bottom. Trigger and wheel, of course, lanyard connector up there, and then even a micro SD card there in the front. Variable rate dials, one right here with the button as well. And then variable rate dial over there. So tons of switches, everything is adjustable. You can obviously turn the display on and off. So this is like the main status screen, and then you have basically an option screen with a bunch of different settings there. And this thing has got way more features than pretty much every other radio on the market today. Obviously 8-channel telemetry, full color display. It's got programmable switches, 200 model memory. It's got mixing, all 4-wheel steering, brake mixing, treaded vehicles as well. So lots of different options. Timer, gyros, FPV compatible, head tracking, smart card slot, like I mentioned. So yeah, even customizable fonts. Like a lot of people don't really like these standard, Times New Roman looking fonts, but they are adjustable with some font files. You can adjust the voice control or the voice readout, ABS, speed, expo, idle, throttle curves, throttle speed, steering speed, everything you can think of. This thing has fail-safe through the radio itself. So yeah, super easy and fully featured radio out there on the market. I don't think there's any other radio that actually has as much stuff. But yeah, these are all the different settings. You can kind of just scroll through, and I won't go through everything one by one. To be quite frank, I use this more in terms of performance and testing and that kind of thing. The range is like 600 meters, so that's one thing Radiolink has always been known for, having huge range. The RC6GS is kind of their lower end radio that I've tested as well. That's very popular with the high-speed crowd because the range is ridiculous. Probably the longest range radios you can buy, and so from that perspective, quite popular. It also has the throttle curve adjustment, so a lot of people for drag racing or high-speed runs even, you can pull full trigger and then have the throttle kind of ramp up over several seconds. So that is also super popular with that crowd. Now, other things I really like, the design and construction, super high-end, actually really nice feeling radio. It's got that rubber texturized grip. There are no other grips included in the box. Maybe they'll make some in the future, but I don't know. It does have the adjustable spring and steering wheel tensions. Steering wheel is really nice. Nice curved foam wheel as well. It is a plastic wheel with like sort of a simulated disc brake there inside. But yeah, controls are quite excellent. Construction is really good. Does take a LiPo or 2 to 4S LiPo or 4 double or 4 triple A's, as you can see here with a what do you call it? I think a JST plug there. Also could use nickel metal hydride if you wanted to as well. So yeah, that's pretty nice about the radio compartment. I would say, yeah, it does suck down batteries pretty fast. So if you go with LiPo, I would use the highest capacity LiPo you can find that will still fit. I'll put little information about the battery compartment size. But yeah, that's those are the pros. Now receiver wise, it comes with the R8FG 8-channel radio, also a receiver, also has telemetry, of course. It is compatible with like all the pre-existing Radiolink receivers out there. So if you have stuff where your RC4G or RC6GS or whatever, they are all fully compatible. Will work with every other radio out there, so that's kind of nice. The receivers do tend to be kind of big. Like this, to me, it looks a bit like a cockroach with the dual antenna. They do have single antennas, but they don't have any really like tiny micro type receivers that you would use like in a race kit or something like that. So a little bit more geared towards the crawler side, the high speed running side, rather than kind of the micro 1/10 scale indoor racing side. Receivers tend to be fairly inexpensive. I think you can buy these for around $10 to $20 depending on where you pick these up. Certainly Radiolink receivers have always been on the cheaper side depending on whether you get a gyro or not. Now the downsides. The main thing I would say is that the performance on this radio seems to be about the same as the RC6GS. Not really a super high responsive radio. I don't think they made any changes to the protocol. They made everything backwards compatible with the old receivers, but the same speeds, same latency, everything I think is pretty much the same. I would say on the steering side, there was a little bit of a nonlinear steering curve, so I did actually change things a little bit. On the steering side, I'm going -2%. Also, the throttle linearity seemed okay, but it almost seemed like a little bit of like negative throttle speed on the return. So I would notice my buggies basically jumping through the air, but then staying up a little bit more even after releasing. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not, but it did seem to have like a little bit of like throttle speed negative curve there on the return side. So all those kind of add up to me. I feel like this is for racing maybe not the best choice. I think it's really more intended for the fully featured crowd of guys who want mixing, who want like throttle delays and stuff on launches and stuff like that, the super long range, the 8 channels to control all your crawler winches and lights and all that kind of thing. So to me, this I think is marketed more as a crawler or high-speed, long-range radio rather than a full-on race radio, so I would say it's more intended for that. And then finally, yeah, the battery side, it does suck down juice pretty quickly. I would say definitely make sure your display has a dim setting, so after 10-20 seconds or whatever, it drops to like 30-40% rather than being on full blast all the time, because that will suck down your batteries pretty quick. That's something I kind of noticed and realized with the Noble NB4, probably why they have a battery base, just to get you a little more milliamp hours to have the radio last pretty long. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Value wise, I think it's a pretty good deal. Actually, this is in line price wise with pretty much everything else, but I think it's a much nicer radio. The display, touchscreen, super high resolution, all the configurable options for font, colors, voices, everything is super high. And then in terms of features, I don't think any other radio can compare with the Radiolink RC8X. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on this radio. Definitely good to see Radiolink come out guns blazing in the mid-level segment. The RC6GS, in my opinion, feels kind of dated. The construction and stuff felt a little bit more low end. I mean, obviously it's meant as more like a $70, $80 radio. This is more like a $300 radio, but the quality there I think is super, super high. Hopefully they come out with the next generation of receivers. I think this one actually you can run in like this V2 mode, which is like 2K bit or something like that rather than 1K bit. I just ran the 1K, which is basically what it came programmed as. Maybe you get a little bit better, finer resolution there, a little bit better performance, but I was just kind of running as I know it. And I also did update the radio up to the latest firmware. There are instructions out there. I'll have a link in the description below. It was super easy. I mean, you do need a PC or a Mac or something like that, but had no trouble. Actually pretty logical and made a lot of sense and pretty fast as well. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Radiolink RC8X. Let me know what you think about this radio. I would say the verdict pretty much is, if you have a Radiolink RC6GS, you really like that radio, especially if you have a bunch of receivers, this is a huge step up because this is way better than that radio. I mean, honestly, this thing is 10 times better than an RC6GS. Costs 3 times more, so obviously, if you don't want to pay that much, I can understand. But you definitely get what you pay for with this. The only downsides I would say is that as a full-on race radio, I would say it doesn't quite have the performance like the consistency, latency, linearity, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's fine. I think most people are actually not even going to notice. I said the same thing about my FlySky Noble, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? I don't know. I can't tell any difference. So maybe I'm special in my, I don't know, my brain or something like that, but definitely things like that I do think exist. So that's about it. Don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe buttons. Look for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.